Hi, this is Beersborn. We're going to take a look at how to use a program called Construct 3. Construct 3 is the software that we'll be using to make our games. It's a game engine. And we're just going to go through some of the basics today and how we can take the character that we created in Piskel and put it into Construct. Now to start with, let's just log into Construct. The easiest way to do that is by going to the Google Classroom. If you log into Google Classroom, you should see an assignment that just says Link Construct 3. And if you click on that, it brings you to some directions, but also a link that'll open up the actual program itself. The address for it is editor.construct.net, or you can just click on the link and it'll open it up in a new tab. This game engine is all browser-based, meaning that you don't have to have it downloaded on your computer. You can use this anywhere, whether it's at home or at school. Just click on that link and it opens up. Now, the first thing that we should do is log in. If you look up in the top right, you'll see where it says guest. Click on where it says guest, and we're going to enter in an access code. All students have a code that lets them use Construct for free. So if you click on enter access code, it asks you to type in a code. To find the code, you want to go back to the Google Classroom. Now, this code changes over time. It's only good for a certain amount of days. So at the time that you're watching this may or may not be the correct code. But if you go into if you go into the Google Classroom, whatever code is in there is the correct code. So don't necessarily enter in the one that you see in this video, but go into the Google Classroom. You can copy this code, paste it in there, and click OK. Once you've done that, you're ready to go. I'm going to log in using my teacher account really quick. Uh-oh, I don't remember my password. Let's see. There it is. Great. Now we're going to start by making a new project. If I click on the new project button, this window pops up, and we have some different settings we have to decide on. First, we have to name the project. Now, this doesn't have to be the final name for your game. Just name it something that you'll recognize. I'm going to call mine just Game Project 1. Next, we have some presets on how big, what the resolution and the size of our game is going to be. I recommend doing 1080p landscape. So click on this, find 1080p landscape. 1080p is a good resolution. Landscape will make it fit the screen of our monitors very well. So click on that. And then we can leave the rest of this alone, except for where it says optimize for pixel art. I would recommend checking that box. Since all of these sprites that we've been doing have been pixel art in Piskel, I think checking that box is a good idea. Then just click Create. This is what Construct looks like. We'll go through the different pieces here just for a second. There's two different parts to Construct. You'll see at the top, it says Layout 1, and then there's another tab that says Event Sheet 1. These are the two different sides of the program. The layout is where we actually see our game. Once we put the characters in, the enemies, the background, all that stuff will be in this big white space right here. You also have some stuff on the left, some different settings that we'll use from time to time. And the windows that are on the right are mostly just like file management. It's where we see all the different like sprites and stuff that we can use for the game. The event sheet, we'll take a deeper look at this in just a minute, but this is where all the code is. There's no actual coding language in Construct 3. It's all menu-based stuff, so we don't have to learn a bunch of programming language, which makes it really accessible. And we'll take a look at what those menus look like in just a second. But let's start with the layout. What I want to do first is I want to take the sprite that I've made for my main character. I'm going to export it from Piskel, and I'm going to bring it into Construct. So what I'd recommend you doing is go into Piskel, open up Piskel, and you want to open up the file of your main character. So find wherever your main character sprite is. I recommend saving stuff in your documents. You might have saved it in downloads or desktop or wherever it might be. Find your file. Mine's called goblinstand.piskel. I'm going to double click on that. And there's my main character. It's a little goblin, the backpack. We're going to export this guy. You want to export it and make sure it's the right size and the right type of file so that we can use it in Construct. To export something, remember we click on the export button that's on the right side menu. And there's a couple settings that we have to pay attention to here. One is the scale. You don't want to turn the scale up all the way because it'll be way too big. Your character will fill the whole screen in your game, and that's just too much. So we want to turn it down. You can decide how big you want your character to be. I would recommend going, I don't know, somewhere maybe around like 500. Anywhere between like 200 to 500 is a good size on the resolution here. So kind of adjust to your slider. So it's somewhere, I'm going to make mine 4 times, it's 512. Yours might be a little bit different, but somewhere in that neighborhood. I wouldn't go any much bigger than this. And then you want to make sure that GIF is selected. Once you have GIF, you have your scale set up. You can click download and download it into your documents. I'm going to call this guy Goblin Stand because he's just standing there. Perfect. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take that exported sprite of our main character and we're going to put it into Construct. I'm going to right click anywhere in this open white space. If you don't see this open white space, make sure you're on the Layout tab. Right click, Insert New Object. There's a bunch of different objects we can put into Piskel. Now, I mean, not into Piskel, into Construct. Most of this stuff we're not going to use, but what we will use is Sprite. You want to scroll down until you see where it says Sprite. Now, don't double click it yet. Just click it once so you have it selected, and then we can name it. Name it whatever you want. This is going to be our main character, so I'm going to call him main character. If you want to name it something different that you'll recognize, you can do whatever you want there, and click Insert. And then click anywhere in the white space. And we're going to insert our main character into our game. Now this window is where all of the animations, all the graphics for our main character are going to be. What we want to do is to load the sprite that we just exported from Piskel into Construct. And the way that we do that is by clicking up in the top left corner. See that little folder icon? It says Load Images from Files. We're going to click on that. What we want to do is find the sprite that we just exported from Piskel. It's probably in your documents, wherever you tend to save stuff. Find it there. There's mine. I named it Goblin Stand. I'm going to click Open. And there he is. There's the goblin. That's all we need to do for now. We can hit the X, and there is our character. Now we can move our character around. It doesn't really matter where it is in the white space right now. We can also change how big our character is. You can grab the corner of it and change it, make it small or big. You can make him skinny or fat. I wouldn't necessarily recommend doing this too much though, because we don't want to distort the scale of our character, right? We don't want to make our character look all stretched out and weird. So you can always undo stuff. If you accidentally stretched them out, just hit Control-Z on your keyboard and you can undo any changes that you made. If you do want to change the size of your character, what I would recommend doing is holding down the Shift key on your keyboard while you change the size. And that keeps it proportional, so it won't get stretched out and distorted looking. Great. There's our character. Now we can test out our game whenever we want. If you look up at the top of Construct, there's a play button up there. It says Preview. If you click on that play button, it opens up a demo of the game. Now, as it is right now, we can see our character there, but nothing happens, right? There's no controls, there's no movement or anything, but at least we can see that we have our character in the game. One thing I'm going to point out is that we also have this like open black space, right? All this black border around our game. This is just a small thing, but let's get rid of that black border. I'll show you how to do that. This is something that you only have to do once. It's not a big deal. But what we need to do is click on the white space. You don't want to have your character selected. Click on the white space. And if you look over in the settings that are on the left side menu, you should see a part that says Project Properties View. If you don't see Project Properties View, that might be because you have your character clicked on. So click off your character. Click on Project Properties View. Scroll down towards the bottom and you should see an option for full screen mode. And right now it's set to letterbox. We want to turn that just to off. We're going to turn the letterbox off. So full screen mode, off. Click the play button and there it is. So that's our game so far. Not much to it, but at least we have our graphic, our first graphic of our main character in Construct. Now let's save it. To save this, we click on the button that's up in the top left. It's supposed to look like an old school like floppy disk from like the 1980s. It's right next to where it says menu. Click on that. And go ahead and click save anyway. and find a place to save it. In your documents, I think is the best place. And choose a file name for your game. Again, I'm going to call mine Game Project 1. And then click Save. Great. We'll leave it at that for now. In the next video, we'll take a look at how we can make our character move around the screen using the event sheet.